Hey, it's your close personal friend, Lou Brutus, the host of the world famous HardDrive and its weeknight counterpart, HardDrive XL. Now, coming up are video interviews I recently conducted with Trivium, Mastodon, and Ice Nine Kills. So check them out, and then you know the routine. Make sure to leave a thumbs up, a comment, subscribe to the HardDrive Radio YouTube channel. You get lots more content, a lot of rock star conversations. You'll also see private shows and performances bands have done here in our studios. And until then, enjoy the upcoming interviews. First up, my old friend Matt Heafy from Trivium. I'm Lou Brutus. Thank you very much. And I hope you like my Darla the Wonder Dog shirt. Hey, I'm Lou Brutus, and I've been talking to this guy, I think, for about 2 ice ages now. It's been a couple of years, and it's always a pleasure to see Matt Heafy from Trivium. Matt, how are you, man?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Doing absolutely fantastic. It's good to be home. We just came off an incredibly successful tour with not one show missed. And I am very, very proud of that fact. So it was an incredible run, the metal tour of the year. It was amazing.
You know what? Let's talk about that, because I saw you guys as part of the Blue Ridge Rock Fest, where I was the stage MC. But you guys, all of the bands on that tour, were probably under the strictest bubble of anybody I dealt with at that festival. Tell me about how you guys got through with no cancellations and no COVID problems.
That's exactly how. I think any tours that were kind of doing it loose, we all heard about it. We saw it. My entire band, entire crew was vaccinated. I had breakthrough COVID as well. So I was about as immune as you can possibly get. And I was still adhering to every single rule. And I know that maybe some people, unfortunately, are rolling their eyes when they hear about this stuff. But the way I think about it, I don't think anything other than this is a virus. It's a sickness. I had tons of freaking shots every time you go to South America. You have to get boosters and immunity if you're going to be near the jungle. My kids are almost 3. When they're little, they get polio and smallpox and measles vaccinations, hepatitis vaccinations. So that's the only way I thought of it. I was like, you know what? I want to play shows, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure not one person misses our set for one freaking show. So had the vaccine. Still wore masks everywhere except for dressing room, stage, and bus. You know how much I love food. We made sure every single meal we had on every single day off was outdoors, no friends, because we wanted the shows to happen. And, with how strict we ran it, if anyone was ever curious, like, man, that's a little bit too much, the proof is in the pudding. We came out of this thing without one show missed. Canada obviously is getting postponed. It's getting moved. It's not canceled. That's a different border country to country thing. So that has nothing to do with us. And we're freaking stoked. It was amazing. 5,000 to 10,000 people a night for metal. That's insane. That's an insane amount of people to show up for Hatebreed, Trivium, Lamb of God, and Megadeth. So it was amazing. We had some of the best shows we've ever had in our career on this run. Blue Ridge was the top for a minute. Then we hit Knotfest, and Knotfest was the greatest American show we've ever had in our entire career. 30,000 people there, and it was madness.
Yeah, I saw your postings about Knotfest. I was actually covering the Rolling Stones tour opener that weekend.
Yes.
I'd already been committed to that. That didn't suck either, but that Knotfest looked insane.
It felt like download. The only festival I could equate it to is that British festival we played in 2005. That was the opening to our career, essentially. We were the 11 a.m. slotted band. We had a lot of buzz going on in the UK, being this 18, 19-year-old band of metal guys, and 40,000 people ran up on the hill to watch us right at 11, and that sparked our career in the UK. That got us a couple gold records, a bunch of magazine covers, a bunch of stuff. But that, like you said, a couple ice ages ago. So that's what Knotfest felt like to me. It felt like an incredible European festival, and it was amazing. Every single band rolled. I love that Slipknot is always supporting the underground bands that people maybe don't know about. Turnstile, we all keep hearing about, but Turnstile is that good, and they deserve every single ounce of praise. But they had Knock Loose on there as one of the best hardcore bands on the planet. Gatecreeper, the only band of American kids that I see. I don't mean to say kids derogatorily, because we're probably all the same age, but they're playing 1990s to mid 1990s Stockholm, Sweden / Tampa, Florida death metal, which is freaking incredible that they're doing that. So it was an amazing bill. Slipknot brought us out on the All Hope Is Gone tour, giving us a huge boost to where we're at. They brought us on multiple Knotfests. So just cheers to Slipknot for constantly supporting the underground world and helping bring the underground world above ground.
Like we've mentioned, I've been seeing you for umpteen years. And for all of the times I have caught you live, I don't think I've seen you look as happy on stage as you were at Blue Ridge after the long layoff. What did you miss most about getting out in front of people?
And just everything, the human connection, being able to give people that release, just like when we were about to release What the Dead Men Say, the last record. That's when the world started shutting down, and we were approached by the label. They said, you guys should postpone this. You will not sell CDs. You will not sell vinyl. This thing won't chart. And we said, we don't care. We said, we don't care about that stuff. We just want to give people relief. We want to give them our music so they can have that hour of relief and they could just feel it and feel good about themselves. Same thing with the channel. Like, you know, people talk about my Twitch stream a lot. I've been going strong for almost 5 years now on it. And the entire 18 months, I had so many people tell me, like, Matt, it was just me in my apartment or my house alone. And the fact that you were able to keep the community going for this 18 months, I had some people say it saved their life. And I feel that that's always been the goal with Trivium's music, is giving people a place, a thing that they need, whether it's their punching bag, their therapist couch, their pillow, their bar, their pub, their coffee shop, their church, whatever our band is for everyone. I want to make sure it keeps on being that thing. And the same case for these shows, to be able to have this finally come back. To not play shows for 2 years was insane. I have not done that since I joined Trivium. I joined Trivium at 13 years old. So I have been playing shows essentially the majority of my life. And to have that go away was nuts. And to be able to get into a place like Blue Ridge, where there was maybe 50% of the crowd didn't know who we were. They're a different audience. You know, we come from the metal world, and we coming in there and being able to get in front of rock fans as well. And them being down to party, them being down to go nuts was so fun. That's why I was smiling so much, just how ready they were to incite a controlled chaos and celebrate the fact that we're all together.
You mentioned your Twitch channel, which I enjoy immensely. It's funny looking at you now on my screen, because this view of you has become, this is the view of you that the world has come to know.
Yep.
I think more so than anything. What is it about Twitch that you seem to find such a strong connection with people? Not everybody does. You do it about as well as anybody I've seen.
Thank you so much. For our band, with the exception of the UK, that moment that I mentioned of Ascendancy, Download, all that stuff, that was really the only time we were ever like a big press buzz band. I mean, we've had a couple of friends and stuff who support us throughout the years. You've supported us throughout the years, a couple here and there. It's not a ton. So we've never really been the band that's on all the magazine covers, the band that gets all the awards, the bands that talked about the press. We've never really been the band that all the other bands talk about. I don't mean that in a bad way. Like we're friends with them, we get along with them, we promote other bands. We're not really the band that like people are like, hey, we go check out this band. But we've always been the band that our fans come out in droves, and they're the ones that keep us alive. They're the ones that come out there who are rabid fanatics of what we do, who've kept us alive through a pandemic, who've kept us alive through ups and downs of our band. So when I looked at my socials, like I was looking at a way to stay connected. And when I saw that, you know, Trivium fans were there, they were liking my food pics. I'm able to talk to them through that. I was like, what's the next level? The next level is live streaming. The next level was a platform called Twitch. And it was actually Paulo, our bass player, who one day I was like, man, I should start making YouTube videos. Paul's like, you should do Twitch instead, because he knew I had the video game background. So I started doing that. And I was like, all right, this is another way I can go to that next layer with our fans, keep giving back, stay in touch. And that's all it was. And I casually was playing video games here and there to like 3 people a day, 30 minutes at a time. I was invited to Twitch HQ by a guy named John and Brandon. Talked to them and I was telling them, man, I love Twitch, but I can't stream as much as I'd like to, because I have to practice. Like I need to rehearse for my own compulsions 1 to 3 hours a day, 5 to 7 days a week, all the time without stop. I just never stop. There's no off time for me, because I treat what I do like an athlete, not like a musician. John and Brandon said, why don't you stream that? I was like, no one wants to watch me do vocal exercises and sing the same Trivium songs every single day from my bedroom. They're like, I bet you they do. I started that, and it essentially, I wasn't the first musician on Twitch, but I was definitely the first like signed metal musician to start doing that. The channel blew up. Kept it going for a little bit, started streaming all of our shows. I stream 7 days a week on tour. I stream every warm-up, every sound check, every show, and then 5 days a week, 2 times a day off tour. And I integrated that schedule about 4 years ago. I've kept it strong. So when the world shut down, finally everyone that kept saying, all right, I'm going to check out this thing Matt's been telling me about for a year and a half or 2 years, they all started tuning in. The channel blew up again. I'm very thankful that I've been able to, I'm the face. If you go to help.twitch.tv, type in music, it's all how-to videos from me explaining how to do it. I've reached out to countless musicians, friends of mine, or anyone who's ever had a question. Hey, Matt, how do I do this too? I've been trying to help them grow their channels as well. Been able to help everyone from the Atreyu guys, like all of them in their band page, to Carl from Nile, to Keith Merrow, to just the list goes on and on. A lot of amazing people. Rob Flynn's on there now. There's like, we just keep seeing more and more bands come on. It's thanks to the channel that when the world shut, when we released What the Dead Men Say, our fans already knew what it was to tune in and watch us from their couch, their bedroom, their toilet, whatever it is. So we put on a pay-per-view show, A Lighter Distant Mirror. And at the time, that was the most successful paid live metal show. And that thing was 100% live. It was in the moment live. Like a lot of live streams, you know, they film it, they play it,
they clean it up, the little nip and tuck.
Yeah, it's like a live DVD replay. So, but that one was 100% live. It was stressful as hell. We filmed it at Full Sail University, had a team of like 50 people. This was before vaccines. So everyone's masked, everyone's doing temperature checks, made that thing happen, took the cash from that, put a down payment on an airplane hangar, build our Trivium HQ, and now we just keep growing from there. Did another record. We didn't do a record because we were told to, or we said, hey, there's no touring. What do we do? We just felt inspired. We felt good. Riffs started popping up. And we said, let's make something. Let's make more of that music that makes us feel good. The last 3 records, our headspace has been, let's not write for what people are going to like. Let's not write for appeasing people that don't like us. Let's only make the kind of music that we want to hear. And when you go back to that mindset, when you go back to that local band mindset, when you're just a couple of friends, you're like, hey, let's jam in the garage, and you're making music like that, that's when you make the truest, most pure form of what your band is. And it's felt really good to just make what we want to make for us with just the 4 of us in the room together. Once it's solid, then we can start working on the recording with our producer.
I can only assume that you guys did what I think smart bands did. And took the bad news of the last year and a half, what I call the recent unpleasantness, and turned that downtime to your advantage, and came up with, I don't want to embarrass you or anything, but the album is brilliant, hushed and grim. Tell me about creating it. Tell me about getting together to record it. Tell me the whole story.
Sure. We were maybe 2.5 years into our touring cycle of Emperor of Sand, which came out in March 2017. So this is over 4 years ago. We had a very healthy couple years of touring. We had a small break after a run that we did in October of 2019. So after 2.5 years, we started to get together just to start, start to pour out the riff idea, to dump out start dumping out the bag of riffs that we've been collecting on tour, like we always do. Because when you're on the road playing the same set for a couple of years, you start to get really excited about new stuff. That's just the way that the cycle goes. So it was October 2019. We started to get together and start to present one another ideas that we've all slowly come up with over time. And we realized that we started to have a lot of stuff. So this is all great news. Flash forward 6 months later, or 5 months later, March hits. We were all together in our studio of West End Sound at our building, Ember City in Atlanta. And that's when the world shut down. We're like, Major League Baseball's canceled, soccer's canceled, Disneyland's closed. What's going on? So we all kind of went home for about 4 to 6 weeks in March. And we were all home alone. And I remember calling the guys and said, hey, man, I haven't left my house. I'm comfortable coming back up to Atlanta and start to work on things if you guys are comfortable. They all shared the same thoughts, like, hey, I've been at home doing nothing. I'd love to get together. So we just started easing back into it around April. I know a lot of people had horrible years in 2020, and I get it. Fortunately, very, very fortunately for us, we were able to use that downtime to our advantage. And we had more time than ever to work on all these ideas that all 4 of us had. We've never taken that much time to write a record before. And it seems on paper ideal, but with our livelihood and our touring schedules and whatnot, we kind of get in, take our time writing records, record it, and then we need to get back out on the road and take care of business. But starting in April of 2020, we realized that we had so much material. All 4 guys are contributing loads and loads of thoughts and ideas and lyrics and riffs and full songs. So it's a great issue to have, is when you have too much. So the creative, the well of creativity was far from dry, and that's a fantastic situation to be in. So we just kept going, and we worked roughly every week, every other week, all the way until we realized we had too much material. So we had roughly 30 song ideas, which is about 20 more than we've ever had in one session. And we just started chipping away at them. Every day we'd dive into something, get it to a spot that was better than it was earlier, you know, in the morning. And every day just keep building on something. And everyone's enthusiastic about all these parts, all these ideas. It's a wonderful thing. Well, we got about 15 songs really hashed out with decent arrangements, patterns, ideas, etc. And we're like, we need to kind of pump the brakes for a second, because we've got too much. We have way too much material. Where do we stop? And how do we hit the pause button? So we kind of honed in on these 15 ideas, and we only work on stuff if we're all digging in on it and we think it's got great potential and we're feeling a good vibe from it and we're all enthusiastic. Otherwise, if it hits a wall, we kind of put it on the back burner, you know, and we'll work on it later. But we got to the point where we had 15 tunes and we're like, okay, we've got plenty here to record a record. We need to cut this 15 in half. And we were like, how are we going to do that? We love each and every one of these equally. We've been working hard on this for a year. Like, I don't want to cut this in half. And in the past, what we've always kind of in conversation always said, like, you know, for us, we don't really feel like we would ever do a double album. That's a lot of Mastodon material. We never have that much to give away at once anyway. And it's usually a barrage of heaviness that would be a little overwhelming for most listeners, even if the songs are good. You know, an hour and a half of super heavy, you know, bulldozing Mastodon material is definitely not for everybody. But this material was not. It was layered with emotions, and we had soft, and we had bizarre, and we had synth, and we had heavy, and we had light. So the question started to morph into, instead of, you know, why should we do a double album? Braun looked at me one day and at the space, and he said, why shouldn't we? And I was like, wow, I can't think of a reason. Having heard all this material, we've been working on it collectively, and it felt like one giant piece of art. And the idea of cutting that in half just was going to be, not fun. So we just kind of marinated on that for a bit. And we said, you know what, this does make a whole. And if anybody can do a double album at this point in time, it should be us. It could be us, and it's going to be us. And most importantly, when we were listening to the demos in a non-sequenced order, it had such a musical variety to it, where it wasn't this wall of heaviness. It wasn't a barrage that's going to be overwhelming to the listener, to our fans. So it just felt right. It started to feel like this should be done.
You know, you just mentioned something in there, the term one giant piece of art. And that was something I wanted to talk to you about anyway, even before you said it, because of the length and the size of the record, and because of the different genres and styles and textures. Why do you suppose it feels like a cohesive piece of art, even though this is the most wide-ranging thing you guys have ever done?
Probably because we were working on, every day we would come in, we'd just pick one of the ideas and we'd just start working on it and try to chip away and get it to a better spot. And we would just come in the next day, pick a different song, do the same thing. So we were equally attentive and falling in love with each song idea all at the same time. We never really felt that way listening, or me personally, listening back to all the demos. It was just all as if we're building something bigger that we don't know what the result's going to look like, but we're constructing something, and it just all felt inclusive, I guess. Yeah, if that makes sense. And it's hard, you know, songs that Brent brings in are going to be different than the songs that Bill brings in, and are different than the song ideas that Braun brings in, and are much different than the songs that I bring in. So we've always had this, but in this record, not more than ever, was ultra collaborative amongst the four of us. And it just felt like everything we were collectively pouring in should be a part of this bigger picture.
Tell me about the song Rainy Day. It's a great piece of work. Tell me how it came about, and tell me what's behind it.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite songs on the record. Ever since we did the Silver Scream 1, and even before that, Every Trick in the Book, where we were dipping into literature, people saw what we were doing, and the fans were like, oh man, I want you to cover this book, or I want you to put your Ice Nine Kills spin on this movie. And a lot of times I would hear, oh my God, you guys got to do some songs about some video games. And obviously, because we're horror based, to me, the king of gruesome video games has always been Resident Evil. Going back to when I was a little kid and getting my first game on PlayStation, which was Resident Evil, and then Resident Evil 2, and so on and so forth. I thought it was time to give the Ice Nine Kill Psychos what they wanted. And that was the basis for this song. We collaborated with Matt Good, who I had liked from the band From First to Last from years ago. Our producer Drew Falk, who put a beautiful sort of spin on what we already had for it, and Steve Sobchak, who I always collaborate with when writing lyrics, and the guys in the band. And it was one of those tracks that just sort of came together so fast. I think it just has a really driving, anthemic energy to it that I'm really excited to play it live and see that reaction. And as we were writing it, I was picturing, man, this is going to go over really well at a festival. And that's sort of the mindset we had when approaching it.
And tell me about some of the other inspirations for the new record, because obviously this is Silver Scream 2. What did you miss on the first one that you wanted to swing back around to?
Yeah, going back to what I was just saying, as soon as we did the Silver Scream 1, we heard tons of fans saying, you should do this song, please. This movie's so cool, would be great. So I tried to take that into account when I was putting together the track list for this album. A few standouts that are coming to mind. American Psycho, one of my all-time favorite movies, based on a fantastic book by Bret Easton Ellis. And, I saw that in the movies in 2000 when it came out, when I was probably 14 or so. And I've been working on that Patrick Bateman impression my entire life. So when people have seen that video, they're like, oh my God, you nailed it. I was like, well, I should nail it because, I've been practicing for about, 21 years. That was a great one. Pet Sematary, we've done Stephen King stuff before. Pet Sematary is one of my favorite. We just filmed a music video for that song, which is called Funeral Derangements. And if you've seen the original Pet Sematary, the little boy who gets hit, it's one of the most shocking, disturbing scenes ever. The little kid gets hit by a semi, and the actor who played that little kid, he was also in Kindergarten Cop. He's the one who delivers that famous line, "Boys have penises, girls have vaginas," if you remember that little kid. And we actually got that actor who played Gage in the original Pet Sematary, Miko Hughes, to play the truck driver in our music video for our Pet Sematary tribute. So a lot of fun stuff, and a lot of great movies we covered.
When you talk to somebody like that, when you have, like somebody who is a kid actor that you bring out for a video like this, are they pleased to be remembered for this stuff? Do they find it strange or amusing? I'm sure it changes person to person, but tell me about some of your interactions and what the reactions are.
Everyone that I've met, from the horror world has been absolutely just so cool and so stoked that I was a fan of what they did. And everyone from Miko Hughes to Bill Moseley, who's in our music video series. And of course, he was in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 and all the Rob Zombie films as Otis Driftwood. Ricky Dean Logan, who plays my lawyer in the video for Rainy Day. He's been in everything from Seinfeld to Back to the Future to Freddy's Dead. Freddy Krueger cut his ear off in one of the films. And everyone I've met has just been so excited about my passion for their work and our celebration of the horror genre. So we're always just met with real excitement from these great actors, and they're so excited to be part of the project.
And there seems to be something about the fandom for horror films that is more zealous than I think any other genre. There are fans of war films and music films and rom-coms, but it's really just horror that gets their own cons and their own sort of armies of fans and things. You know, it's an interesting world to be part of, and probably very gratifying to be around.
Absolutely. It's one of those genres, one of the few genres. The only other one I could think of is like, you know, science fiction maybe. It's one of those kind of fandoms that wants to collect everything. They want to know everything about the movie. They want to own the props. They want replicas. They want screen used items. And that's how I've always been as a fan. You know, I'm the guy that went to the horror conventions, that still goes to the conventions, that wants to collect all of the masks from every installment of, you know, Halloween or Friday the 13th. And that's how I approach everything with the band. You know, what would I want to see as a fan? And I think the interesting thing about, you know, kind of what Ice Nine Kills does is we don't really look at it as a band. We kind of look at it as a movie and as a film franchise. And I think that just sort of lends itself to that kind of Comic-Con culture. And I'm just very excited that people are interested in what we do and are so passionate about it, just like I was when I was a kid.
Quick aside, what's the coolest piece of movie memorabilia that you personally have? And what's the coolest piece that you've ever seen up close or handled, or one that really just blew your mind?
Yeah, so I've just sort of started to delve into the world of collecting screen use props. You know, I've got a bunch of prized possessions, like not used in the movie, but like a Ghostface mask from Scream signed by Wes Craven, who directed that, and Nightmare on Elm Street and many other classics. But as far as actually used on screen, I have a blood-covered lamp that was in Scream 4. It could be seen very prominently in the scene where Ghostface jumps out of the closet and murders this person. And it's right, you know, it's on my nightstand. I use it every night. So to see something that was on screen in a Wes Craven film in my own room is pretty great. Within the band, our guitarist Ricky, his father owns one of the harpoon guns from the original Jaws. And
Whoa!
I've been trying to barter with him for a couple years. So eventually it's going to be mine.
That's great. And again, were you ever out, you know, were you ever visiting somebody's house and you walked in, other than the harpoon gun from Jaws? Yeah. But if you walked in and seen something where you went like, oh my, I can't even believe that's there. Like, what was it?
Yeah, I have this one friend, Trevor, who does this podcast called The Boo Crew. And he has just a crazy assortment of stuff. He has, if you've seen the movie Hereditary, he has not only the dollhouse from the film, but the severed head, you know, that the girl.
Oh, God, no. Oh, really?
The girl gets her head cut off when she's sticking it out the car window. He has that head. My friend Sean Clark, who is an agent in the horror convention world, who just recently started representing me to appear at horror conventions. He has an absolutely insane Michael Myers mask collection. I think he's got pretty much a screen use mask from every single installment of the franchise except part 1. And to me, that's like, you know, the holy grail.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Although, quickly back to Hereditary, I don't know how you personally feel about that film. It took me about 5 or 6 tries to get through that movie, because I just kept shutting it off, going, I can't, like, I'm just not ready for this. And that ending, you will pardon my language, fucked me up bad. That film, that's an evil, evil work of cinematic genius.
Yeah, that guy is incredible. And he also did the film Midsommar, which I thought was equally, if not more disturbing. I don't know if you've seen that follow-up.
I have, and because it all sort of, it's non-supernatural is what makes it even creepier. It's like, yeah, I could see that happening, you know?
No, absolutely. That guy's great. But yeah, the screen use stuff really excites me, and I hope to have a very impressive collection at some point.
Bye.